Ben 10 vs. the Universe has finally come out, and after 2 or 3 weeks of its premiere, I don't know when this video is being uploaded, I have a lot to discuss, from character backstories to new Omnitrix features. Again, I'm not sure when this video will be out. I was thinking about waiting a bit before giving all my thoughts on this movie. This could come out a week after the premiere or a month. I don't know. Who's to say? But I do know one thing. I thoroughly enjoyed myself while watching this. There were cameos from classic characters, references to the original continuity. I don't think I've ever been this excited about Ben 10 since the Omniverse era. Waking up excited on a Saturday morning to watch Ben 10 brought me back to the days when I used to, wake up excited on a Saturday morning to watch Ben 10. So here I am discussing Ben 10 vs. the Universe. But before I get to that, we did get a new opening. I mean, it's the same thing, but instead of the aliens being showcased with the number next to them, we're shown all 10 aliens in the active playlist having their own little clip of in some sort of fight scene compilation. That's the best way I can describe it, but I like that. I like when shows change their theme song a bit for each season, like how Omniverse's theme song sort of evolved over the course of the show, with certain aliens being the theme of one season and then replaced with other aliens in another season, or how the beat slightly shifted in tone. I hope that this is the new theme for season 5 and not just a little thing they threw in for the movie, because that opening alone was enough to get me excited. So it starts with Ben as Heat Blast fighting Steam Smythe, but he isn't really taking anything too seriously. He's tired of fighting the same villains and is so used to winning all the time that he doesn't even try to make an effort. This is an element of the character I was interested to see. Like, when you're as powerful as Ben and have all these transformations, of course you'll get bored of certain situations and want an actual challenge to come your way. Ben Prime sort of went through this as well, albeit not quite to this extent. Yes, he liked being a hero and that was the most important thing. I think the thrill of it was also a sort of high, and since he'd been around so much action just about every day of his life, whenever there wasn't anything happening, things would seem mundane to him. He got excited when Zombozo's machine turned the skies purple and hoped it was some universal threat that he had to take care of. This Ben is no exception, having been around so much action that he's craving more, watching the stakes to become greater and greater, but realizes as we see in this movie that he's in over his head and must rise to the occasion. I also like the fact that he seems more like a kid, and he's excited for just about anything. Phil was alerted about an object in space that's headed towards Earth and something he believes might be the end of the world. He informs Ben that the Omnitrix key that activated the Omnikix armor was inserted backwards, and after some space training, they put the key in properly, unlocking the next level of the Omnitrix, that being the Omninaut armor. Phil's Omnitrix knowledge seems very suspicious to me. I'm not saying he's going to turn out as an enemy like his classic counterpart, but I do think there are certain things that he isn't telling the Tennysons. There still hasn't been any mention of the plumbers, and I'm not sure if they even exist in this universe, but they have teased a few times that Phil may have some skeletons in his closet. You know no one's going to die or that it's not an actual meteor because of the trailer, but the lead up to the quote-unquote meteor, which turned out to be Vilgax, still has some weight to it, even when they cut back to Ben being alone in the depths of space. So after Ben is uncontrollably drawn into a wormhole, he meets the Incursions, who think he's Vilgax and put him on trial. I liked seeing the Incursions depicted as these intergalactic law enforcement. It's a good refresher seeing them not conquer or blow up planets all the time. But I'm guessing that since they seem to be so peaceful, that Ascalon was never created and their planet wasn't destroyed. Or maybe the events of the Incursion War did happen, and this is just a faction of the species who didn't become outright conquerors. Another thing that I absolutely enjoyed, the aliens don't all speak English, and the Omnitrix/Omninaut armor activated a function allowing Ben to understand what they were saying. In the original continuity, my own theory was that some alien race, possibly the Galvan, created a universal language. Yes, we do see Ben use the universal translator before with the dragon and Galapagos, but the majority of aliens within the series all seem to know English tongue, but I guess you could just say they had a translator on them. While Ben is off in space, Grandpa Max and Gwen run into Kevin, whose anti-tricks is on the fritz, and joins the Tennysons temporarily in order to get his watch fixed. It was cool to see Kevin have to step up in Ben's place and become a hero of sorts. I'm gonna jump ahead a bit and say that I sort of hoped that Kevin kept the galvanic mechamorph armor, and after Vilgax was defeated, he'd still be in possession of the anti-tricks. Although it was said that Phil could possibly fix Glitch, so maybe Kevin does eventually keep the armor, or maybe it's given to Gwen instead. But back to the anti-tricks. I like that, yeah, Kevin needed someone to fix his watch, but at the same time, you see just how lonely he is. Something they show more emphasis on than the other times they've explored his origin. Up to this point, he's been used by Forever Knight and has been wandering around the country without anyone to call family or anyone to notice him. And when someone does recognize him, they only see him as the emo Ben. They've been sprinkling little things here and there that maybe show why Kevin is always following the Tennysons around, mostly being because he's jealous of Ben for having someone to call home. But in a flashback during This One Goes to 11, we see Kevin in school with Ben sometime before the current summer vacation, so he does, or at least did, have someone considering he was enrolled in school, and possibly sometime before or during the break, something happened to his family. After Kevin defeats Polar and Solar, he has a little heartfelt moment with Phil, Grandpa and Gwen before Vilgax attacks, which is where we get the origins of the anti-tricks. Ben goes on trial as the Incursions believes him to be Vilgax because of word from Tetrax, who tells them that Vilgax is in possession of the Omnitrix, took the form of a human, and is planning to destroy the planet. Also, Walkatrouts. This is in my opinion the best reference in the entire movie. So anyway, Ben is thrown into the Null Void for crimes he didn't commit. When Ben enters the Null Void, in my opinion, that probably is the best moment of this movie. Maybe I'm just biased from all the nostalgia. We got to see the Scare, who I'll be referring to as Ghost Freak, since that's who he was credited as, voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who was part of a group of prisoners consisting of an Optisoid, Wolfmancer, Laboan, and a Pisces Villain. We actually got to see all the aliens from the original series being depicted within this show, albeit except for a Gormand, Transyllian, or a Splixen, or a Thepkufin. So I'll take it back. We haven't seen all the aliens from the original series being depicted in one way or another. But what we do get is two new aliens, one of them being way big as we saw from the trailer, but another being a personal favorite, Goop, who I will now refer to as the Booger Guy. I gotta say, when Goop was first introduced back in Alien Force, I never really understood how useful he was. But in time, he grew on me like all new aliens do eventually, and to see him again making his reboot debut with D. Bradley Baker returning to voice the character. I heard he was in a reboot as most of us did, but I didn't look into it, so I just assumed he was coming in season 5. So when he was unlocked, I honestly almost jumped out of my seat. I also liked that Ben actually needed to prove himself to Azimuth that he was worthy of the Omnitrix. In the original continuity, which I've brought up for the millionth time by now, Azimuth watched Ben and kept an eye on his activities thanks to nanomachines in the Omnitrix that recorded his adventures. But we never really saw that. So to see the creator of the most powerful device in the universe put the user through a trial was just a little nice thing to see. There's probably people theorizing that maybe once Ghost Freak reaches top the Omnitrix, he might be returning as a villain in the next season, but I think it's just a little nice callback. It's always nice to see Ben prove himself to Azimuth, and I think this is one of my favorite moments, where Azimuth realizes just how resourceful and selfless Ben can be at times. Azimuth references that he sent the Omnitrix to a specific human, and I think that specific human isn't Grandpa Max this time around, but actually Phil. He's just more aware of the greater elements and aspects of the universe. He's a lot more involved, when it comes to the other elements of the world in comparison to Max, who I remember them hinting at having some sort of past. Although the two were retired from their adventures in discovering the unknown, Phil is obviously still continuing his studies, and would be a better candidate for the Omnitrix unless Azimuth was referring to another character we have yet to see. Azimuth and Vilgax's relationship. So, I think I'm gonna be under fire when I say this, but I like Vilgax's story and it's better than what his story was in the original continuity. By that, I basically mean his means of trying to obtain the Omnitrix and why he wants it so badly. In the original continuity, for those who need a refresher or for those who may not know, Vilgax was a repairman who arrived on Earth in the year 1773 to fix Maltruan's transport when he sees what the Omnitrix can do for his hand after fighting Ben, who had been time traveling at the moment, for the technically first time. After this encounter, Vilgax is then hell-bent on finding the Omnitrix and claiming it for his own without any explanation. Although, prior to that, he was exiled to Earth's part of the galaxy by the Chimera military due to his ambitious disobedience, which could mean while in the ranks, he grew power-hungry and saw the Omnitrix as a way to prove himself to his people. But that's just a theory. In Versus the Universe, Vilgax worked with Azimuth on the Omnitrix, but while Azimuth saw the device as a means to bring different species of the universe together, Vilgax saw it as a means of power, albeit having the same goal of bringing a form of unity between the various species of the universe. When Vilgax tried to take the Omnitrix for himself, Azimuth trapped half of his DNA inside the device before sending it to Earth and being exiled to the Null Void, with half of himself being inside the Omnitrix, which was the result of Gax, and after the 11th alien, Vilgax beamed the blueprints for the Antitrix within Kevin's mind in what seemed like a dream, which is when we realized while Kevin had the watch, it was all a test to see if the device properly worked. Vilgax, now on Earth, after fighting Kevin, reclaims the Antitrix and turns into Alien V. Ben leaves the Null Void and helps the incursions from being drawn in. He saves them by proving that he in fact isn't Vilgax and is trying to stop him. It's revealed that Tetrax framed Ben in order to have him brought into the Null Void where Azimuth was waiting to take back the Omnitrix. But considering that these events in a way helps Ben become a better hero and save his planet, Ben lets Tetrax escape before returning to Earth. Ben and Kevin team up to fight Vilgax, and Ben then uses his new mastery over the Omnitrix to unlock Waybig. He defeats Vilgax in a fight I didn't appreciate until my second viewing, and saves the planet. So not comparing this to anything that came before, putting myself in a mindset where it's his own thing, which it is, I really enjoyed myself watching this from the standpoint of a longtime Ben 10 fan, and was excited to share this with my nephew who was a new fan to the franchise. This was the thing that defined the potential of the reboot to both old and new fans, while also unifying the community, causing those who weren't interested to be interested, and those who were already into the show hope those fans catch up. I also think that this has the funniest jokes and moments in the series so far, and I found myself laughing at basically every single one of them.
You better skedaddle before I have more time to reflect on this decision. Hey, did you get my joke? Reflect? You know, 'cause of the crystals?
If there's one thing I had to pick and say that I didn't like was the ending. To me, it just seemed a bit too abrupt, and I know that's not the worst thing in the world. It's an ending, everything's supposed to be wrapped up. But I don't know, with everything that happened, it all just seemed like, okay, everybody, the world's saved, let's all go home now. Oh, where's Kevin? Who knows? And then it just ended. But that's just me. There's also the question of, are Goop and Waybig now in Ben's active playlist, or were they just temporarily unlocked? Also, because of this new ability, I assume we'll be getting new aliens at the drop of a hat now. Bottom line is, I love this movie, and it might take Destroy All Aliens' place as my favorite Ben 10 movie. Regardless, it's definitely up there with it. I do have my own little theory about the Antitrix's true power, but let's just save that video for another day. For now, I want to thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you want, and I'll see you when I see you.